Hey guys, this is Light, and welcome to my unit album for my standard units, and I'm gonna go through units like my normal DPS, my openers, anti-cleave stuff, and like the way they're built and why. So yeah, let's get into it. I think this is mostly sorted by speed, so we're starting with RNL. So RNL, I just have her top speed with damage, but I don't really like this build. I think the best build for RNL right now is going like 100 effectiveness, because if you drop 1000 attack for like 100 effectiveness, for some reason RNL is still capable of one-shotting stuff. Maybe that's like a slight oversight from Smallgate, but yeah, I think this build is pretty cope. Um if you can, 100 effectiveness is really good. Like you can have like your attack can start with like 2000, be in the low 2000s, and you can still one-shot people. Ideally you also have like, I mean, crit set is fine, but pen set is really nice too for your S2 damage. I think Ferber set is a scam personally, because it's really hard to, you know, get the right stats for it, and also the new breach is a scam in general. But yeah, I have my top speed. I'll probably change this to 100 effectiveness down the line, but personally I hate playing her. But maybe, you know, maybe you enjoy her for some reason. And also, if you play RNL with other openers, you should tune your RNL to be slower than them. For example, there are many people on the ladder right now who are playing like 300 speed RNL with 310 Luna, 310 Bryceria, 310 any other opener besides RNL. Because what people like to do is they like to imagine that RNL is going first, because that's only natural as she's the fastest unit in the game. But if you do that, like imagine you play Bunny Dom or something, and then the RNL doesn't go first. It's like the Bryceria going first, defense breaking your team, and RNL S3s and kills everything. In which case your Bunny Dom is useless. So yeah, RNL, effectiveness is really good on her. Being slow is also really good. And top speed is also really good for like messing with cleavers, but yeah, she's really broken in any build works. Mine is just like this right now because I'm too lazy to change it, but yeah, if I were to change it, she would be 100 effectiveness, and if I play her with other openers, I would make her 300 speed. And of course her artifact is just Violet Talisman, because it's good to have the extra evasion, but also there are people running running a symbol of unity, so like they have a high chance of hitting on Setsuka, so that is a thing if you want to try it. But it's really nice to have 100% evasion after 3 turns. But yeah, that's my RNL. And then we have Rinak. Pursuit is her best in slot. It makes her a way better unit. However, there are people who don't have Pursuit and they just put her on their very top speed, like 330, and they also go Summer Photogenic to, like, you know, beat up Estelles and stuff. Which is good too. Some people just put top speed on Rinak, and they also do stuff like race RNL, because naturally Rinak will be faster than RNL because she has less less of a burden to have the right stats, right? Like Rinak gear is way easier than RNL gear. So, you know, that's the thing. I just have mine, you know, average speed. Nothing crazy. I don't race with this. I picked this as a damage dealer. I by no means race with this. I tried picking her early one time, and someone slammed Omid into me and I died. So if you are slow like me, I wouldn't recommend picking Rinak unless it's last pick, or unless you're 330 speed and you're racing RNL or something like that. I have Lidica. I have Lidica because she is a pusher and a defense breaker with decent speed. I like this pen artifact because I play slow units like, you know, Frieren, Seline. Well, my Seline is slow. I'll explain why later. And like, you know, her defense break lets you just one-shot a unit off the bat, which is really good. And also, you know, her S2 can disable some things or stop people from picking Setsuka, etc. And like counterattack units in general. It's really good against Estelle. Yeah, so yeah, I use Fire Lidica to enable my DPS on 3. Then I have Ahmed, who is also here just to enable my DPS on 3, which is usually Frieren or Seline. Nothing crazy, just top speed. If you want, you can have ER as well, but I don't really care for that. Because if I pick Ahmed, I'm just gonna go first anyway, hopefully. And then her artifact can be the fan, or it could be Proof of Friendship. I don't particularly like Proof of Friendship though, because if you pick a Runka, the Proof of Friendship goes on a Runka and it's kind of bad. I prefer a fan for that reason, to make sure my DPS gets the extra push. And then Birgita is basically the same thing as Ahmed, except she doesn't push your team, but she gives you swift attack and a greater attack buff, right? For one unit, so she's kind of an Ahmed, but also she has utility with her debuffs and whatnot. Basically she'll hard counter, counter attack units like Setika, Asteria, anything that relies on buffs, because she has the feet debuff and the block debuff as well. Birgita is very nice, nothing crazy. Have her on Bird's Eye. Because you can S2 and then burn your S3 to ignore ER, which is really nice. But yeah, she's just top speed, nothing crazy. Now I have a 300 speed Fumyr that I play with Frieren sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes. The thing about Frieren is that Frieren will give Fumyr all her stacks for free, so you can just proc her immediately. She's really good against people who are lacking cleanses, but that's pretty rare, which makes her a pretty rare pick, but I just have gear on her just in case. But yeah, she's really, really good with Frieren. Then I have Flan, who is very similar to... Flan is like a mix of like Fumyr and Ahmed. Flan is a stripper, defense breaker, and team pusher, and also she gives swift buff for Frieren, which is insane. I think Flan might single-handedly be the best Frieren enabler. Because, push up, push back, strip, defense break, swift attack buff, it's huge. And also, you can give her Awakened Leaf or, what was it called? Renewed Will, to make her push even more so that you can play a slower Frieren. It's really, really cool. But yeah, she also works really well with Seline, because, you defense break for Seline, she taps everything. And then we have Luna. Luna needs to be decently fast. And usually if you pick Luna, you have to be able to outspeed yulha, you have to be able to outspeed stuff like Sigret. And you press your S3, you win the game, or you're supposed to. Usually pick her against people who have 4 units who are weak to debuffs or have minimal cleanses. So imagine someone's only cleanser is yulha, the Luna will put a lot of pressure on them. Obviously we have immunity to make sure, Luna's as resistant as possible. And yeah, nothing crazy, very standard. And then I have Briar, 300 speed. I don't really play this at all. If you want to play Briar with Frieren, your Frieren needs to be 260 speed, which mine is not. But sometimes I'll have yulha Frieren, and then I can pick Briar because the yulha can push my Frieren the rest of the way. But yeah, if someone's going Ruel, Salome, might as well go Briar, but it's a pretty rare pick for me. I usually prefer to duke it out normally. I have Poli geared just because, realistically, you only pick her against fighting spirit stuff like Estelle, Bellona, etc. Otherwise, a pretty rare pick. Sometimes you can counter pick Successor Teiyu, Cabal with it, etc. It's not bad. And we have Moon Bunny. My Moon Bunny is very fast. She's 200 ER with the artifact. I picked this Moon Bunny when I think RNL is going first and she won't be able to tag me. So RNL presses buttons and then Moon Bunny pushes up with her artifact, steals a turn, and hopefully kills someone. This is also really good against Zio because Zio likes picking extra turn units, and also if the Zio doesn't S3 your Bunny Dom gets a push and potentially cuts his team. So yeah, this kind of Bunny Dom is very, very cheese, very good. Ivana's artifact is very good in general. But yeah, really, really funny cheesy unit. I don't pick it too often though, and usually just against Zio Cleavers. Then I have Sigret, and she's a bit over 200 effectiveness with her imprint and goblet. 290 speed is pretty standard. You want your Sigret to be faster than your yulha because sometimes superhuman Sigret is the play. And you also want immunity because if she has immunity, that means you can start her off with a shield, evasion, and immunity, which means she's buff stacked and immune to double strippers like Tenebria. So that is pretty nice. And also, like, imagine you fight a 300 speed Salome, she clones your Sigret, but your Sigret is buff stacked so it doesn't do anything, which is also nice. And of course, yeah, we're on Goblet, so she can cycle her S3, S2, S3, etc. Then I have my standard yulha. I'm not tuned with my Sigret, but I can't be bothered. Ideally, I would make this like 280 speed or something, and yeah, I also have Glorious Flag because I like picking her with Setsuka. So she has 50% evasion with Setsuka, and also the extra cycling is pretty insane. If you want a safer artifact though, you can't go wrong with Warhorn, you can't go wrong with Swordstorm. Although I usually pick Ruel so that my Yulha gets Idol's Cheer, so I don't need the Swordstorm. Yeah, any artifact works for her. You do want to be on immunity for, you know, extra chance of like RNGing debuffs, etc. But you don't have to be immunity, I just like immunity. But yeah, very standard. You don't need effectiveness, you don't need ER unless you're a freak. But yeah, very standard. Fire Ada, I have her 290 speed with Guide to a Decision. I usually pick this against people cleaving with Frieren and they're going like really all in. Like the Frieren Bryceria are now shenanigans. And they'll press their buttons and then Ada will cut because like she might be getting pushed by an Idol's Cheer. And along with her artifact, so yeah, it'll probably cut in one-shot Frieren. Or that's usually how it goes. And you have to be quite fast for that, unfortunately. I have achates, she's also just anti-cleave tech. 270 achates with Idol's Cheer is really nice because like, you know, if the other person doesn't deal with her, like she'll push up and cut, but if they do try to deal with her, like they'll proc her Idol's Cheer and something else might cut. She's pretty good with Rinak, she's pretty good if you you know, have a target that like they need to deal with. Like imagine you're fighting Zio and Zio needs to S3 something else, and then you know achates will be threatening them. Yeah, whatever, just very fast and tanky with Idol's Cheer. And then I have my Frieren. Your Frieren speed depends a lot on what openers you play with her. I prefer a slow, high damage Frieren. Like, you can be as slow as like 210 speed as long as you have enough CR push for her. But yeah, you want to be close to like 5k 350 ideally. And yeah, I played this Frieren with stuff like Pirate Flan who can push her a lot. I play it with Ahmed who can push her a lot. I don't try to play her with Bryceria. We can play her with Lidica because, you know, my Lidica has the pen artifact that pushes like 25% or something. But yeah, you do need to play this Frieren with a decent pusher. If you want Frieren to like, you know, push from like stupid Bryceria, like just her S3, you're gonna need like 260, 270. But I prefer the slow Frieren because, you know, she secures kills more easily. So there are some people who are tanky enough to survive defense break into Frieren S3, which is really annoying. But yeah, depending on what pushers you use, you can be very slow. I just like being 230 because like it just feels good. And then let's see, we have a Landy. I almost never pick this thing. I think she's okay into teams that only have single target damage and teams that are like, you know, like she's decent against Estelle too, but very rare pick, nothing crazy. Then we have Seline. Seline is a premier unit this season. The new build for her is very slow and very high damage. I would say you want to be around 4k 350 minimum and on pen set, which is pretty difficult, but it's very rewarding. Because like, Arunka is really strong, Salome is really strong. Salome has a very toxic interaction with Seline, where if you clone Seline before she uses her soul burn, Salome can use her free soul burn. And Seline will still be able to use her free soul burn as well, which is really, really toxic and does 1 billion damage. So yeah, she's built really slow so that she has the potential to just completely one-tap people. I think the fast Seline build is really whatever right now, because the game is all about murdering people with high damage so they can't respond. Because like imagine this, right? So when you're playing RTA and you miss kill by 1 HP, isn't it really punishing? Like imagine you're fighting Biblis, you miss kill by 1 HP, and then, you know, they just full heal and everything and they undo all your work, which is really annoying, right? So the counterplay to that right now is just one-shotting stuff, and you know, that would make Biblis waste her passive and everything. So yeah, that is the meta for building units. Like everything is slow and high damage because you gotta one-shot stuff. And you want Summer Photogenic. Obviously, it's the best in slot thief artifact for every thief. But unfortunately, I only have one. But yeah, it's a pain. I only have one. But ideally, if you play Seline 3, you want Photogenic. And I have my Arby. Arby is pretty similar to Frieren. Max damage with like 200 some speed. He's also way better with Summer Photogenic again, but I only have one. I think Decrescent is pretty fun on him too, though. Because like you basically have a 50% chance of encountering with like 15,000 damage on your S1, which is pretty funny. But otherwise, Photogenic is the best in slot, and you want maximum damage. If you want, you can tech your Arby for triple torrent as well, so you can instantly die to a Rinak S3, and then come back and kill everything. But I prefer staying alive though, because like if Arby gets 2 S3s off, you know, that does like nuclear damage, and the other person will probably die in like 2 S3s. And then we have Tori. Same thing for all the other units. You want Tori to be slow and really high damage, such that when she takes a turn, something will die. And if you don't manage to kill anything, that is really bad. you want to be slow, high damage, and be able to kill stuff. And this is the highest damage setup. I know some people are like tinfoiling Fervor to replace like torrent set, but it could be a thing, but you know, farming an equivalent of Fervor set might be really hard, and also your follow-up turns are weaker. It's like you're stronger on turn 1, but then your following turns are Garbo. Like, I'm not sure if that's worth it. And Tori also has a specific tuning. When you're playing Notos, you will most likely play Tori to kill Bellona. And you need to make sure your Tori is faster than Notos, so she can go kill Bellona, and then Notos presses S3. You don't want Notos being faster than Tori, or else, you know, Tori can't do anything, right? So yeah, that's Tori. And obviously, her best in slot artifact is Photogenic, because every thief's best in slot is Photogenic. I hate it, but it is what it is. And then we have Notos. The Notos builds really depend on your gear. Like, as long as you're close to 30k HP, 200 speed, you're fine. You don't need ER. You just need your 50 crit, 175 crit damage, and like whatever, right? I used to have an ER Notos, but then I needed his Bastion of Hope, so I scrapped him. And if you have wasted stats, I really like having a little bit of extra ER, because then you can pick a Notos with Christie, and then he won't have just 300 ER, he'll have like 300 plus a little bit of his own, which is really important, because some debuffers have well over 250 effectiveness, so yeah. And then Have some random units. The Aki is nice to have. If you're more aggressive, like people will probably slam like, stuff like Belly and Christie into you, and Aki's really good at dealing with that stuff. Cause like he doesn't care about ER, he doesn't care about Bellion, which is nice. You want to be like, super high attack, or else you can't kill anything. And then we have Emil Ball. I feel like Emil Ball is decent against a lot of cleaves, although he's pretty hard to pick though. Well, I think he's decent. He's nice to have build. 280 speed is fine. You do need a bit of HP to make sure his S3 can actually kill anything. I already talked about KDs. Mort is really good against people who early pick Estelle. Like, if you stop Estelle from countering, she's kind of a dead unit. And I just have my Mort fast to like pressure people. His build doesn't really matter that much. You can even be Protection Aureus if you want, but like, any Mort build works. Like, Mort is Mort. I have Salome. If I played Salome like a human, which I don't, I would go Sweet Miracle 270 speed with immunity, and then be extremely bulky. Although it doesn't matter how bulky you are, RNL can still one tap you. But for like normal matchups, you want her to be pretty tanky anyway. I have a 200 ER Elena, to resist RNL. But also, I have Idol's Cheer to have more, to be able to cheese cleavers with random stuff. Like, Idol's Cheer pushes my Fire Ada, Idol's Cheer pushes like random stuff and then they die, which is really nice. But yeah, I'm not a fan of Magaharas because you can just take the turn and still lose. But yeah. And then we have Sharun. I only pick this thing with Rinak if I'm feeling frisky. Ideally, you want to be Pursuit set though, so her Cascade does more damage. And then you want to push Artifact for her to like, enable another unit to take the turn. So you can go Tree Branch or you can go Proof of Friendship, whatever works. You need like decent speed and effectiveness. Then we have Scales. I don't play Scales, but if you want to play Scales, you want to be decently fast with a Soul Artifact. Your effectiveness and ER don't really matter that much. Like, you just need to take the turn and you're good to go. But yeah, either way, you do need to be decently fast to cut some cleavers and stuff though. And then we have Aram. I only pick Aram against Harsetti, in which case a protection set is really nice. Queen's Whistle is really nice to get your tuning right. I just have her really tanky with protection set. It's really helpful for like Frieren and stuff. But yeah, very standard. You don't need immunity because she gives you immunity, etc. And Ross, I only pick Ross. I pick Ross very, very rarely against like people who are like all inning on debuffs. But otherwise, he's not really that good anymore. He kind of dies to everything right now, which is a shame. But he's a thing. Bellona. I strictly pick Bellona against Notos, but like I don't really fight Notos anymore because I think it's an uphill battle. But yeah. Very standard. Destro immunity with speed boot, high attack, high crit damage, decent bulk, very standard. And of course you're gonna be on Sigrets. I just have FCC build for fun, or not really for fun, but I'll pick her against Ludwig if I need mitigation, but that's about it. Now Dark Corvus. Dark Corvus is a pretty decent unit for Harsetti games. You want him on the Thorns artifact so you can soul burn him. You want him very high HP so he can actually kill something. And yeah, he's decent for Harsetti games. That's about it. You have Little Senya. I only picked this unit for Harsetti games, of course, so we're slow with high HP. Nothing crazy. Very standard build. Then I have a very tanky Arby, just in case I need some kind of like degenerate counter cleave or whatever. Yeah, that's about it. And then we have Harsetti. Nothing crazy. She's just very tanky with injury. You can argue that weakening and crown is a better build against like people who are really greedy with their speed, but I don't really want to build like that. There's a good chance that you just whiff everything anyway. I usually try to avoid picking a Harsetti, like she's not that good. But yeah, she's just tanky on injury, nothing crazy. We don't pick this unit either because she's just kind of she's just kind of bad. There's no real use for her right now. She's like for killing mid-speed light units, but like those are not a thing anymore. Elena. Sometimes someone will pick like Hecate randomly, and then like you need to pick Elena to mitigate their damage. That's about it. Otherwise the unit is rarely picked at all. Then we have aravi. If you're the kind of person to like open Notos and fight him like with your bruisers, this is how you would play aravi. Very high HP with Draco Plate and a decent amount of crit damage. No speed because you have Harsetti. Then we have Setuka. They're very standard. You want to maximize your HP. If you want your Setuka to do as much damage as possible, you need really high HP, but you also need a lot of crit damage as well. I would prioritize crit damage over attack, but this is just how my high gear score gear rolled. Couldn't help it. Like I would want like close to 300 crit damage, 26k HP, and then whatever attack. Oh, and I guess that's the end of my normal units. Oh wait, there's also Estelle. I forgot about Estelle. Estelle is a pretty normal unit, to be honest. I'll just add her real quick, maybe. Wait, never mind. Oh, there we go. Alright, so Estelle, very standard build. I know a lot of people like Holy Sack, but I don't really duke it out with Notos, so I don't really use Holy Sack. And also, Holy Sack is really bad against Braceria Cleavers, so I don't like that either. But Holy Sack is really decent though. Having ER might be decent as well, so you don't like die to debuffs getting focused. But I like this build because it puts a lot of pressure on the other person with counterattacks. But I'm not really a fan of Estelle though. I think Estelle is really good when you pick stuff like Frieren, Tori, and Seline because like they basically guarantee that Estelle counterattacks. But I don't pick those units too often, so Estelle is less value for me. But yeah, alternatively, protection set Estelle is also really good for protecting your like Tori and stuff. If you don't have a good counter set, protection set is definitely really good. And you definitely do not want like stuff like crit damage neck. Like having more HP is definitely more valuable. And yeah, that is basically all of my standard units. Hope that was helpful. Thank you for watching. See you guys next time.